Have you ever looked at a bunch of old stuff just sitting in your house and thought, I really need to do something with all this? Well, today, we're going to turn that something into actual cash. Welcome to your super simple guide for using platforms like OLX and eBay to sell all the stuff you don't need anymore.
So, let me just ask you a quick question. Just take a look around you wherever you are right now. You see that old phone in the drawer? Or that pile of books you finished years ago? Yeah, we all have stuff like that, just kind of sitting there, collecting dust.
But what if I told you that you could take all of that old clutter and literally turn it into money? Well, it's not just possible, it's actually pretty easy, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it.
So, here's what we've got on the menu today. First, we'll dive into this whole idea of your old things becoming new money. Then, we're going to decode a fancy-sounding term, C2C e-commerce. Don't worry, it's simple. After that, we get to the good stuff, how to sell, how to buy, and, this one's super important, how to stay safe. And by the end of this, you'll be all set to get started.
All right, let's kick things off. Your old things, new money. You know, the entire idea here is incredibly simple. Something that's old and maybe even useless to you could be the exact thing that someone else is searching for right now.
Let's think about some examples. Maybe you've got an old smartphone. You just upgraded, right? But that old phone still works perfectly fine. Someone out there would love to buy it. Or how about those books you've already read? Or those clothes that don't quite fit anymore? All of this stuff, it still has value.
So you might be wondering, how do I find these people who want my stuff? Well, that's where something called C2C e-commerce comes into play. Now, I know, it sounds a bit technical, but I promise you, the idea behind it is about as simple as it gets. Okay, so C2C, it just stands for consumer to consumer. And a consumer is just a regular person who buys stuff, like you, like me. So all C2C means is one person selling something directly to another person, all online. There's no big company in the middle. That's it. Simple as that.
Really, the easiest way to imagine this is to just think of a giant neighborhood market, or maybe a flea market. The only difference is this entire market is online, and you can get to it right from your phone.
Let's break down the difference. When you go to a huge online store, like an Amazon, you're buying a brand new item from a big company. But in a C2C marketplace, you're usually buying a used item directly from another person, just like yourself. It's just a person-to-person thing.
And the places where this all happens? Well, they're probably apps you've already heard of, like OLX and eBay. These are some of the most popular C2C apps out there, and you're about to see just how easy they are to use.
Okay, let's switch gears and get into the really practical stuff. How do you actually sell your items? It's a really straightforward process, and I'm going to break it down for you into 4 super simple steps. All right, here we go, 4 steps. First, take a good, clear photo. Seriously, good lighting can make all the difference. Step 2, write a simple, honest description. Something like, blue jacket, great condition, only worn a few times. Third, set a fair price. A really good tip here is to just search for similar items and see what they're going for. And finally, number 4, post your ad. You just put your photo, your description, and your price together on the app, and boom, you're live.
Awesome. So selling is covered. But what about when you're on the other side of the deal? When you're the one looking for a bargain? Well, buying is just as easy. Let's walk through that.
First off, just use the search bar to look for what you want. Let's say a used bicycle. Once you find one that you like, step 2 is super important. Read that description really carefully. You want to know all the details. Third, don't ever be afraid to contact the seller and ask questions. It's totally normal to ask something like, hey, do the brakes work well? And finally, when you're happy, you just agree on a price and figure out a good place to meet up.
Okay, listen up, because this next part is, without a doubt, the most important section of all, staying safe. Trading online is actually very safe as long as you follow a few simple, common-sense rules.
These are non-negotiables, okay? First, always, and I mean always, meet in a busy public place. A coffee shop is perfect. Never meet at your home or theirs. Second, try to bring a friend with you if you can. Third, always check the item over carefully before you hand over any money. Make sure it's exactly what you expected. Fourth, paying with cash is usually the easiest and safest way to go. And last but not least, never, ever share private financial info like your bank account details.
And you should always keep this old saying in the back of your mind. If a deal looks way too good to be true, it probably is. If you see a brand new laptop for like $20, you should definitely be a little skeptical. It's always best to just trust your gut.
And that's basically it. You now know what C2C e-commerce is all about, you know the exact steps for buying and selling, and most importantly, you know the rules to stay safe. So guess what? It's your turn to give it a shot.
You have all the information you need right now. You are totally ready. You can go find those old things sitting around your house, and just by following these simple steps, you can safely turn them into brand new money.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. Take another look around your room right now. What's the very first thing that pops into your head that you could sell? Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy selling.